Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 28th, 2022 at approximately 6:57 a.m. PST. Back to talk about finances again. You'll notice that we're jumping between the backbone of the home and the backbone of the house. The reason for this is because I came back to this world. I returned to this lifetime for one primary purpose, and that is to let everybody know, to pass on a simple message to everyone in existence. Okay, that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, it would be very naive of me to presume that with roughly 7.6 billion people on the planet, and I may be off on the numbers as far as that goes, but it would be pretty naive of me to assume that we can all get on the same page anytime soon. But as long as we are making the effort, we can turn the tide of the way society is going. Now, I call myself a spiritual guide because every tool that I talk about, every tool that I present here, are ones that I personally am using. Every philosophy I talk about, as far as philosophy of life goes, is a philosophy that I personally live by. Okay, now, with that in mind, we've talked about getting a list of your bills together. Go back over the last few days. Okay, because we started down a path and we are going to walk through this together. These are the same tools I'm personally using myself. Okay, I talked about take a look at your world, the way it feels here. Now, the reality of it is that if you're like anybody, if you're like I am at all, or like most of the people around you, no matter your income, you are facing some interesting challenges. People on the whole live to the level of their income. Well, in all fairness, they live beyond it. Okay. But I've seen people with literally, I've had clients come to me with literally $100,000 bonus check. And they still, at that level of income, could not accommodate, they couldn't handle their own, they could not afford to live the way they desired to. Now, I will not tell you how to become a multimillionaire. I will tell you the starting points, but since I'm not there, I cannot say this will absolutely work. Give me a few years, we might be able to talk about that. But to start with, we're talking about using the money you personally have. So get a list together of all those bills and go back over for a more in-depth look at it. Go back to past videos I've done. The way it's going right now, I'm doing finance today. Yesterday, I dealt with finance. By the way, is the backbone of the house. The backbone of the home is the other side of it. And yesterday, I did where are my glasses? Okay, being the 28th. Okay, this actually works out kind of easy to work on. Even days, and it's only been a few days, so only really a week back. But on even days, I'm talking about the backbone of the house, which is your finances. How do you get your finances, regardless of where you're standing, back in order so that you're actually comfortable? Okay. On the odd days, I'm doing the backbone of the home. How do you get your heart and your family back working as a unit? Now we're going back to the basics, back to the very simple basics to make this happen. This is not going to be a short trip. Okay. And I do encourage you to, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you like it for obvious reasons, subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of transformation going to be taking place over the next little while. I'm going to walk you through the whole 9 yards. Okay. And if you have, remember to hit the alert button to let you know when the next video comes out. Because I do my best to come out to be on here once a week, once a day. Okay. With that in mind, okay, we're talking about starting where you are. Now, where I was, just to give you a real brief history, and then we're going to move forward with the next step. I'm not the best of the best. Just get that straight. I've been bankrupt twice, once by stupidity, once by creating what I call creative financing. Okay. And once by absolute stupidity. The second time I went bankrupt because of something that my employer actually did, and my bank dropped the ball and didn't tell me about until it was too late. That said, professionals guided me to declare bankruptcy. Now, this is where your jaw is going to likely drop if you know anything about finances. The first time I went bankrupt was directed by a professional at $6,000. That's all I owed. And I was told to go bankrupt. The second time was at 14, and I was told to go bankrupt. Now, that said, I should have never listened to the professionals in this case. Professionals have good points, do not get me wrong. But I've spent my entire life, 58 years, almost 59. It'll be 59 in May. But for the moment, 58 years. I've spent, okay, on the poverty line, one paycheck before and beyond, one paycheck ahead of ending up on the street. Do I know what that's like? Absolutely. I've got two kids, one of which is still living with me, one with special needs, still living with me. Okay. So I know how this works from a parenting standpoint as well. I've lived this way my entire life, but the methods I'm talking about here are what I use to get to where I am now. Okay, in a day or two, I will be debt free. Okay, I will have cleared off my bank account, my credit card. Okay, and I won't owe a thing on it. Well, I'll owe whatever the interest is, but it will be completely up to date. The only thing left owing on it will be the interest from this month we're in. Okay, and I've already got the money set aside for that. I currently have 2 months of rent in the bank, or 1 month of living, rent, utilities, food, everything covered. Okay. That was annoying. Now, I've talked to a number of people, but this is where I'm standing right now. Where I am aiming, okay, is simple. I am aiming for 6 months of living in the bank. Okay, so that if something happens, I won't have to worry for 6 months at all. Okay, that's where my next target is. Right now, I'm sitting in very good shape. I know where I'm standing. I finally, after 58 years, found the peace of mind to say I know exactly where my life is, exactly what I'm aiming for. I am now in a position where it used to be, I've got to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. Can I avoid paying this check or this bill long enough so I can get this one paid so it doesn't get disconnected? Been there, done that. Okay. And as I've told you, when you're striving to do something, take the time to talk to somebody that's done it successfully. Now, I'm very happy to say I have done this successfully. Okay. I am currently very aware of where I'm standing. I've tracked the whole 9 yards. A lot of it's been self-taught, but most of what I've done has been talking to people that have done it before. Okay. And I encourage you, don't necessarily take my word for it. Talk to your own people. Find out if this makes sense. Use your own judgment. Do your own research to check. Okay, but if you don't know which way to turn, there is no question. The tools that I use personally are what have put me in this position. Okay, so get your list together of every single thing that you owe, everything. By getting your list together, you'll know what your utilities are, what your bills are, and I'm talking the total you owe people. On that first list, put the total down, and while you're at it, you might as well put what the minimum payment is that you've got to make on those bills. Then you break them into three categories. Living expenses. Okay. Living expenses being your rent or mortgage. Utilities, which include your power, your gas, your phone, your internet, your cell phone. I personally include one credit card or one line of credit in the utilities. Remember to cover your insurance, automobile, and home. Okay, your food, a little bit of something for entertainment, including, by the way, your mad money. Okay, and take a look in the past videos as to just exactly how that works. Do not forget to put aside some money for savings, regardless of how old you are. Okay, the more money you have put aside for savings, so that you've got something to work with. Now, some people use a bank, some people use a mattress, as it were, or a cookie jar. Some people use a combination of both for the savings side. Take your pick which one works for you. Okay, for me, I'm using a bank. And yeah, that's a really cute idea. But these are the tools I personally use. Get that list together. Once you've got it, that's the first one, is your living expenses. Then you look at your interest accruing debts. Okay, those are every other, aside from the one you put under living expenses. Okay, the rest of them you list as these are interest accruing debts. Your credit line, any other credit cards, any more than one, you put into the interest accruing debts. Okay, any leases, any payment plans. Okay, your mortgage, also the overall of the mortgage kind of fits in both, but you're looking at the debt. Okay, so you put that all into interest accruing debts. Now, the nice thing about the mortgage is it doesn't actually, I don't think, I don't have a mortgage. Okay, but I don't think they add interest to what you owe. I don't know. Okay, but make sure that is in that second list of bills, because that second category is the one that we are targeting. The third list of bills is everything else you owe. Whether it's a loan from a friend that gave you, oh, here's $100, don't worry about it, and you feel like you still have to pay it back, it goes into that bottom list. Okay, now, when your paychecks come in, this is where it starts to get interesting. Your paycheck comes in. Okay, and I'm not talking about a paycheck 6 months down the road. I'm talking your next one. Unless I missed my calculation. Okay, today being Sunday, if you get paid on the first and last day, we're talking about having this mobile by Sunday, because that's the next check. No, 2 days. My apologies, we're on Monday now. So, your next check, if you get paid on the last day of the month, means it'll come in on Wednesday. So you take that next check. It comes through the door. Doesn't matter how big it is. You take a look at that check, and the mad money I briefly touched on, that's 1% of whatever comes in on that check. $1 out of every $100. Okay. Now understand, that means if you've got a check for $1,000 coming in, or worse, let's say you've only got a check for $500 coming in. That $500, 1%, you're getting $5 out of that for coffee money until the next check. This is where self-discipline is absolutely critical. This method works. Okay. I've managed to do this, and the path I've followed, and the one I'm talking about, has put me with more money coming in than I require. Okay, but you still leave that, you keep that bottom end in there. Before you pay anything, take that $5, that 1% out of your bank, put that in your pocket. That is your money, and that is your mad money. Now, the reason you do this is because taking that $5 for you first, going, I can have a coffee, changes the energy in your home, in your heart, really. It changes that energy from I'm working to pay my bills to I'm working and paying my bills. Now, I used to be in a point where I had to really, I don't want to pay this bill because I really want to go and I want to have a meal out. So I'm going to cut back on this bill. I'm going to avoid it so I can go out for dinner. I am now at a point where I'm literally looking at it going, I'm going to renovate. I'm going to replace everything in my home. Okay, and I'm starting with the living room. I'm going to replace everything there because I can. The method I'm using has got me to that point. And this method, if you choose to use it, over time will get you to that point. It took me a long time because I had no guidance. Okay. My parents made one critical mistake in my opinion, and yours likely did as well. I was told when you're dealing with household finances, don't tell the kids what they're going through. Had my parents sat down with me and gone, here's what I'm going through, here's the side effects, I likely would not have gone through the same thing. Now, with that in mind, can I prove it? No. What I can tell you is I do sit down with my own son and go, this is where I'm standing. This is what I'm doing. And this is why we can't afford to do all this stuff. But I am now at a point, and you can be too. You can be at that point where you look in your bank account and you go, I've got my money there. I want to go for dinner. Let's go for dinner. You don't look at who am I not paying to do that? You can get to that point. I know you can because I've done it. And if I can do it where I have major problems with trust and major problems with technology, then you certainly can do it. Okay. So you take that 1%. That is your coffee money until your next paycheck. Okay. Now, it's that simple. Once you've done that, now we're going to take the rest of the money. You know what your utilities are, and the reality is that money has to be there first. Well, first bill, critical priority. Now, taking $5 off your bank won't damage the potential on this one. Not in all likelihood. Okay, $5 is likely not going to do a thing to damaging your ability to pay your rent. But your rent or your mortgage, bar none, has to be your critical bill. That's got to be paid regardless. Your power bill is the next one. Don't look at it from the standpoint of, but I want my cable. Well, you probably do. Or I really have to be able to game. I love my computer games. That is the most important thing to me. But we have to look at practicality. If you don't pay the power bill, it won't matter if you pay your internet bill. It won't make any difference at all. It won't matter if you pay your phone bill if you don't have power. Okay. Your cell phone won't matter if there's no power to charge it. So the rent or the mortgage is dominant priority. Second important bill on top of all of the rest of them is your power. Okay. Then you start targeting the other utilities. Now, personally, I am using my credit card to pay my utility bills. Okay, but what I do is I use the credit card, I pay off the utility bills, and I'm now in a position where I can actually do this. It used to be, oh, I've got my credit card stuck all the way at the hilt. I got no room to work. Okay, and I know what it feels like to go into a bank and find out, or to go into a grocery store and go, I really want this, but you get to the counter and they tell you what the bill is, and they tell you, I'm sorry, you're $10 short or whatever. I know what that feels like. I've had to turn around and leave something on the counter that I really desired, but because I didn't have the money, okay, I had to leave it behind. I know how embarrassing that can be. I understand that firsthand. Okay, but I am now in a position, following this method, I'm now in a position that if I'm standing in line, and somebody else comes up with that, it's like, no, don't worry about it. I will deal with the extra, put it on my bill. Okay, because now, and this is something I've done all my life anyway, quite often to my own detriment, but I am now at a point where I can actually do that. So you take a look at those bills and you target the smallest interest accruing debt. Okay, when we go to wipe out the rest, you get your utility bills, get all your bills paid. Okay, get all of the minimums covered. Then you target the interest accruing debts and your back bills as far as utility goes. Because let's face it, like I said, your mortgage, your rent have to be a dominant priority. Even when the bill is adding interest, you've got to have those things because I'll tell you, it's a whole lot less stressful having the roof over your head covered than it is to have that not covered and have a credit card paid. I will tell you, the stress level can cause a problem. Now, here's the other side of stress, and I did this to myself. Back in 2018, I was really badly back in 2018, I was really good at bottling all of the stress around me. Okay, trying to protect my kid from it, trying to protect the people around me, trying to avoid the embarrassment of saying I really screwed this up. I bottled it all and ended up with a stroke out of the deal. Okay, this is not a fun path to go down. So, with that in mind, it is time for you to really take a look and go, okay, do I desire to control my life in spite of what the government's doing, in spite of what anybody is telling you? This is doable. Okay, I know this is doable because I've done it. Okay, and it is now time for you to do the same thing. It's time for you working with the people around you, get the support you require from other people. Absolutely. Whether you're turning to the church, whether you're turning to the banks, it doesn't matter, but I will tell you this. Getting a loan to get you caught up to date, sometimes that works really well. Okay, but remember, if you're getting a loan and you're adding to your mortgage, whatever, to get a lump sum to bring yourself up to date, I do recommend it from one reason. It brings those all up to date, so now you're just dealing with the one bill. You're not dealing with, oh my gosh, is my cable getting cut off? Am I losing my power? Am I going to be homeless? Okay. The problem with bills, with getting a loan, and I think I'm probably going to talk about this more later, in the next run. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to make a note for myself. Now, the reality of it is this: you get those those bills dealt with, because what happens is that by doing that, like I've walked the road that you may be walking. Okay, and understand, you look at the people that have the fancy new cars and the brand new house, and you're looking at it going, oh, they've got it made. I made that mistake. Okay, the reality behind most of these people that have a brand new car or a brand new house is that they are up to their eyeballs in debt. They've got the exact same problems that you have, with the difference being the amount they're in debt. Okay, there was there's an interesting way of looking at it. The question comes up, well, why does the bank let you keep your car if you haven't paid yet? Well, the reality is the bank doesn't have enough parking stalls. Okay, most people that owe money on a car, most of you are you're one check ahead of it, and that's it. It doesn't matter whether you've got an old beater that you're making payments on, or a spanking new car, hot off the press. Okay, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, just yesterday, because I'm now in a position where I can actually look at renovating my living room, getting a complete surround sound system. I've lived on the edge for years, well, for my entire life. I am finally at a position, and you can get here. Okay, if when we're talking about the bills, we're talking about bringing them down so that you've got a little extra money to work with. Okay, and I will tell you, you're not likely to believe it. Okay, if you've never been there, you're not very likely to believe it. But as your debt load comes down, okay, yeah, your credit rating goes up. Frankly, who cares? Okay, if you're not going after another loan, the credit rating won't matter. I look at my credit rating, and I'm appalled by it, but it's way better than it used to be. And I've now got a way to make it jump really quickly. But I know what I've gone through this. And I can happily say that as your debt load comes down, it doesn't matter how happy you are at home. Let's say you've gotten along, that your family is really tightly united, but you're up to debt, up to your eyeballs in debt. Bring that debt load down, and your home life is going to run so much better. Don't take my word for it. Experience it, but follow the path I'm talking about. I'm not the best of the best. I'm simply talking about a path that I personally am following. Now, I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, so join me then. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do remember to subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it, because this is a message we all require right now. And that is that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I'd love to hear your comments on this video. If you've got questions, ask. Look below this video. Okay, you'll find a list of different ways of connecting with me. And again, the reality is, this little book here, okay, this little book, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. This is the backbone of what I'm talking about. Okay, there's a whole list of books under my video that are in print right now, that are over on that shelf there, that you can acquire directly through me and are slowly getting on the internet. Okay, they're getting into Amazon and what have you, one step at a time. With this in mind, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive. Well, that worked well. There we are. For pity's sakes, stay positive